As Monty Python used to say, I'm now for something completely different. Okay, the first thing to say is that the West Coast does not have the monopoly on all things wonderful and beautiful. The East Coast has some amazing stuff as well. As I said, just first of all, like to thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you this morning about Sealife as an ecotourism business. I only found out last week that I was doing this, so I had to kind of pull it together fairly quickly. My name is Súilleabháin. I'm the general manager of Sealife. And it's interesting because what started out as a job that I didn't think I wanted has turned into what's transpired to be a 13-year, not a job, but a vocation. And from not knowing one end of a fish from the other, I now care deeply about our marine environment. And I think I do know one end of a fish from the other, and I suspect I might know a little bit about the things in between as well. Okay. Right, okay, so the National Sea Life Centre is a public aquarium. It's beautifully located on Bray seafront and backs onto our wonderful Victorian promenade. And looking at this photograph, you might be forgiven to thinking that there's not an awful lot to it, but I like to think of it as a TARDIS aquarium. And those of you who know Doctor Who will realise that Doctor Who's time travel machine just looks like a phone box on the outside, and you go inside and it's got all this massive space. Now, I don't have massive space, but we certainly make full advantage of the space that we do have, and we pack an awful lot more into it. Grant, okay. Just a little very, very short history. I mean, it opened in 1998. There was an aquarium on that site beforehand, which had closed down for financial reasons. We are the only aquarium on the East Coast. There used to be one up in Portaferry, but it closed down last year, and I hope it will reopen again in the not too distant future. And even though some of the early years of Sea Life were quite rocky and struggled as a business and as a visitor attraction, we're now at a point where we've welcomed over 1.4 million visitors, and we're doing well over 100,000 visitors every single year. And we have 30 different displays. I mean, when it started in '98, it was kind of a journey from the mountain stream down to the sea, and it was all focused on our native livestock, whereas now we're much broader. We do cover freshwater, we cover marine, but we also vary it between native and tropical. It's amazing that people used to come along and they'd watch smoothhounds and they'd watch dogfish and they'd say, "Where are the sharks?" And I says, "There's sharks." "No, they're not real sharks. Can we see the real sharks?" So we've actually since then brought in other types of sharks which are just as real as the smoothhounds and the dogfish. Our vision really is that we want to deliver memorable experiences to every single visitor that comes to the aquarium, and we want to do that through the power of our passion for the marine world. And I think that's the single most compelling thing that we have to offer, is that everybody who works and is associated with the aquarium is totally committed to our marine environment, and which is why I said, it's a vocation rather than a job. And if you want confirmation of that, just ask my bank manager. And by doing that, our desire is to ignite a spark of that self-same passion amongst our guests. They can go off and actually have that passion as well. And we have a mission statement which says that we want you to love the oceans and the creatures that live in them as much as we do. And we hope that by sharing their beauty, we want to inspire you to help us to protect them for generations to come. When Siobhan asked me to do this. She talked about, kind of, so you're doing a session on ecotourism, and then I had to think, well, what actually is ecotourism? And I said, well, the best thing to do is I'll just Google it and I'll see what definitions come up. And there were so many definitions that, I didn't know how many people are going to be in the room, but I knew there are definitely more definitions than there are people in this room anyway. And so I said, okay, well, what sits with me? And I just came up with really, from my perspective in relation to where sea life comes into it, it's a type of tourism that meets 3 criteria. It provides for environmental conservation, which we're deeply committed to. It includes meaningful community participation, and we have been steeped in the community in Bray for many, many years. And also, tourism is about business. It is an economic pillar, and it has to be profitable, and it has to be self-sustaining. And the problem is, if you don't have the profitability, you can't deliver on some other elements, such as environmental conservation and community participation. It's funny, the word profitable is sometimes seen as a kind of a nasty word, but actually not. It has incredible value, because it allows you to then deliver on that passion for caring for our marine environment. And it allows us really to be a force for good. And that means that not only, is doing something good for business, it's also doing something good for the planet as well. And in relation to Sealife, we do that in the context of environmental conservation. So what do we do for environmental conservation? Well, we have our conservation program, which is best encapsulated by 3 words. Those 3 words there: breed, rescue, protect. Because there again, if you have numerous definitions for ecotourism, you have as many, if not more, for the word conservation. And so we carry out local activities that come on under those 3 headings, but also by linking with the Sealife Trust, which is an independent charity funded by donations raised by Sealife. There's not only Sealife in Ireland, but there are Sealifes globally as well. We can then commit to doing global action, which also seeks to protect our marine environment. Such as lobbying and fundraising for the establishment of marine protected areas, the ending of some practices such as whale hunting and unsustainable fishing, and to try and end, I don't know if this word exists, but what I would describe as the plasticization of our seas and oceans. And, very much, where we do a lot in relation to community participation. And, when we set up our Coast Care group, it was to organise beach cleans. It's with the support and the participation of our local community to do it. Because it's not only staff members who get involved in the beach cleans, but we will let our visitors know, we advertise it, on Facebook, in the local community, and we get involvement that way. We also do work with transition year students. We've got a full work experience program, so we're by September we're booked up for the entire academic year, and every week we have transition year students coming in, working in the aquarium to get an insight into what it requires to look after animals, from a marine environment. Somebody once said, sure, running an aquarium must be fairly easy. Just fill a tank with water, throw a few fish in there, lob a bit of food in there every so often, and you'd be grand. And if only it was that easy. And obviously from a community aspect, we have most of our employees, come from the local community. Interestingly, my displays curator started off with me as a transition year work experience student. She then volunteered. She then managed to secure a part-time job. She went off to college. She got her degree. She came back and she worked her way up. And now she is she's my displays curator. So that involvement and that commitment is there throughout. And, kind of the other element of ecotourism is about being, kind of profitable and self-sustaining. So, kind of careful management, kind of our pricing allows us to generate sufficient revenue in order to be able to run the aquarium and make enough money so that we can reinvest. And, kind of managing things like our energy costs and kind of our water usage. Obviously, as an aquarium, we use up a fair amount of water, kind of not only allows us to operate profitably without increasing prices too much, but also helps us to reduce our carbon footprint. And for example, we've just finished a project whereby all of our lighting now is LED, so our energy consumption has dramatically decreased, and that's not only good for business, it's good for the environment as well. I just want to touch on kind of our the breed, rescue, protect element of it. And I said earlier, so I'll just give you, kind of conservation is best summed up by those three words: breed, rescue, and protect. And, kind of, we are committed to breeding programs. We're by international standard, we're a fairly small aquarium, so we don't have huge number of programs. But, kind of, we are committed to breeding endangered species. There's a picture of a short-tailed nurse shark, not native to Ireland, tropical species, but they're actually, kind of quite seriously endangered. And we had a female, and we've just taken a male on loan from Artesou in the Netherlands, and they seem to be lighting a romantic spark between themselves, and we're hopeful that we will get some viable eggs, because the female had been producing eggs, but obviously they weren't fertilised and nothing was happening. So that's going on. Well, breeding is also important to help us to have a better understanding of reproduction and the impact of various environmental factors on that reproduction. And as well as that, it also allows us to have self-sustaining stock. A lot of marine creatures have short lifespans, and kind of if you have to, we don't want to be going out to the wild to be collecting stock for our aquaria. We want it all to be aquarium bred, kind of captive bred. And we are involved in programs whereby we will transfer livestock to other aquaria in Ireland and overseas as well. Our rescue program is probably the smaller of the elements. I mean, kind of, and there again, it covers the thing. We've kind of been on the fringes for a number of years in relation to seal rescue, and there's some who take the view that seal rescue is not really about conservation, but it is about animal care. It is about kind of looking after a species which is native. Now, we don't hold any seals. We don't have the capacity to do that. But often on the East Coast, if there are calls, if there are sightings, kind of close in the proximity of Bray, Dublin, that area, we'll get a call and say there's a stranded seal. We'll go out and we'll investigate. A lot of times those seals are just kind of coming up onto the beach just to rest, to recuperate before heading back in. So a lot of the time there is no need for any kind of intervention or rescue, but that determination has to be made, and so we're happy to be able to help and support in that way before notifying the seal sanctuary, who then organise for those injured seals to be collected. But what we do is we're very heavily committed to a program, kind of, which is we call our Tank Busters program. But it's really about kind of it's like everything. You go into a pet shop, you see a small little creature, you say, oh, isn't that cute? And I'll buy that and I'll bring it home and I'll put it in the tank and I look after it. And the thing is, and it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows, and soon you end up with kind of any one of these kind of cat sharks or pacus or plex kind of that grow way too big for the tanks. Now, you got a large dog, you can bring it out for a walk, but you can't bring a large fish out for a walk. And so from a conservation point of view, it has quite a value, because you've got a lot of these people who've looked after these creatures, care about them, are well-meaning, and decide, okay, well, I'll just release them out into the wild. But you then run risks in relation to invasive species on the basis that, that they can survive in the conditions out there, and eventually they will adapt and they will be able to reproduce and then compete with native species for food and habitat. So it's not a good thing to be doing. So we try and educate our visitors and kind of get them to be more critical and questioning when they're going, and go to a reputable shop that knows what they're selling as well. And then there's the protect element, which is probably the strongest element of our conservation campaign. And we do a number of beach cleans every year. We've just participated in the Clean Coast event there in September. And kind of this was from the harbour in Bray earlier on this year. So you can see there was most of the collectors had scuppered off home. So I just managed to nab 2 of them to take a photograph, because we're down there and we only think about it afterwards. Oh, I should have taken a photograph. So the beach clean is quite important, and kind of it's equally rewarding and frustrating. It's rewarding insofar as that you see kind of that you're having an impact, that you are kind of keeping a coastline clean. It's very frustrating because you end up having to do it again and again and again. And you'd like to think that you'd get to a point where we didn't have to do beach cleans, that people would be sufficiently responsible not to dump stuff. And it is amazing what you come across, kind of during beach cleans. Just to say thank you. Hopefully it's been informative, and just this goes to show that kind of it is possible to have kind of a business which is also committed to the environment. And kind of I suppose if I was to summarize it all, kind of we are a public aquarium. Oh, I have another picture there which has lots of the creatures that benefit from all the hard work that we do, kind of. So, I mean, we are passionate about it, the animals that we care for. We're passionate about the environment that those creatures come from. And we want to share that passion with as many people as possible, kind of. And it's a balancing act, kind of. On the one hand, we have the business, and on the other hand, we have our animals and, the passion that we have for them. And the thing about it is, without the business, we can't look after the animals. We can't devote the time and the energy and the resources to, kind of promoting and protecting the environment and give expression to our passion. But equally, without the animals, without all of that focus, there's no business either. So you can't have one dominating the other. It is a fine balancing act. We strive to do that. We hope that we do that, and we will continue to do that. So thank you very much.